all of the other volunteers who donated their time to help out to organize our event. And I'm going to ask everyone to please stay quiet because we are a large group. And please turn off your cell phones if your cell phone's on your ringer. We would also like to acknowledge the candidates who took time out of their busy schedules to participate in our event. Thanks to everyone who submitted questions ahead of the event and who come here tonight to hear more about where the candidates stand on issues that matter to our community with respect to the upcoming election, which takes place on October 20th. So a few comments on how we're going to proceed tonight. Each candidate will first have 45 seconds to introduce themselves and say a few words about why they're running for office. We will then move to the Q&A portion, and we will randomly draw a name to determine who goes first. Each question will be read out by myself, and then it will be answered by the first candidate, who will have 45 seconds to respond. We will move down the table, and 3 additional successive candidates will have 30 seconds each to respond to the question. We'll then move to the next question, and so on as we move down the table. Once all of the candidates have had an opportunity to respond to a question, we will randomly draw a new name to start round 2 of questions. And I just ask, given the number of people here and the fact that we're Facebook live streaming the event, I'd ask that each candidate state their name before they give their response. We will conclude with closing remarks by candidates who will have up to 1 minute to make some final rebuttals and remarks before we conclude. Timing will be strictly enforced, and candidates will be given a 10-second warning before their time is up. It's an orange card, as you can see Nina at the front here is holding. So when you see that card, you have 10 seconds. A red card means you must stop, at which point Dave at the mics will cut the mic, so you will be cut off. All questions were either submitted ahead of time by email or submitted in writing by attendees. And if you I think we already have more questions than we can get to, but you may have submitted a question at the entry to the room. We will not be passing a mic or taking questions from the floor, and we have an extremely limited amount of time for questions given the number of candidates here tonight. So we apologize. You may have submitted a question, but there's just no way we can get to all of the questions that we've received. There will be an opportunity, however, for networking, a meet and greet format from 9:30 to 10 p.m. following the conclusion of the council mayoral all candidates meeting. So if you have a specific question that does not get asked, we encourage you to stay for the networking period to ask any questions you have directly to the candidates. I'll also note that if you submitted a question that was posed to a specific candidate, we are not taking those types of questions. They don't fit within the format of our all candidates meeting tonight. All of the questions asked will be supplied to the candidates at the conclusion of tonight's event, so each candidate will have an opportunity to address questions that they were not able to answer through their own social media or other means. So just a couple more ground rules before we begin. First, please be collegial and respectful to one another. There will be no applause. We're on a very tight timeline, and we must keep things moving on schedule. Heckling and interruptions from the audience will not be permitted. Anyone who engages in such conduct will be asked to leave without warning. This is your one warning. We will ask you to leave if you engage in any of that conduct. And again, we have a very tight timeline for this meeting, so we ask for your patience and assistance in ensuring we can get through as many questions, responses as possible. So with all of that covered, we will now draw names to start the candidate introductions. David Davis. So David, you will have 1 minute.
Thank you very much.
Oh, sorry, you will have 45 seconds. You will have the closing is 1 minute. You'll have 45 seconds to provide an opening, and timelines are strictly enforced. You will be flagged with an orange card when you have 10 seconds left and a red card, at which point your mic will be cut.
Okay, thank you very much. David Davis is my name. I lived in Langley for 60 years on the old part of the old Hudson Bay farm. It's been there for 130 years. Our family has. I'm a dairy farmer. I milk 250 cows with my wife and my 5 children. And my wife gives me heck. She says, if you got to read a speech, you should be able to tell me where. Anyhow, I'm running for council to ensure that it's a safe place to be, a good place to raise children. And I got 10 seconds left. Thank you very much. You know, I'll catch my breath.
So we're just going to move along the table, right?
This is exciting. It's wonderful to see a huge crowd like this tonight. It's great. My name is Phyllis Hebner. I'm a musician. I've been teaching music for over 50 years. I like to say I started when I was 2, but that would be fake news. I would like to bring a musician's brain to our problems, one that does problem solving and creative thinking. And my idea is that we need smart growth. Growth is happening, growth is coming, but we need to be smart about it and make it attractive and usable and communities that are user-friendly. And Fort Langley is a fabulous, quaint, historic place, and we need to keep its color and do our best that way. Thank you.
Good evening. It's great to be in Fort Langley tonight. My name is Michelle Connerty. I live in Brookswood, and I'm running for a council seat because I want to make a difference. My vision for the Township of Langley includes a mayor and council that can work together in a transparent and accountable manner, a Langley that has infrastructure and funding as a top priority while we go through this incredible growth. A Langley that embraces great development that is considerate and complementary of the community that it's great in. A Langley that protects its ALR lands and sees the value in supporting farming initiatives, large and small. A Langley that will step up to the plate and address the difficult issues, which include affordable housing and homeless residents. And I intend to work very hard towards making that vision a reality. My name is Michelle Connerty, and I want to build a better Langley.
And please no heckling, even if it's reminders. Candidates, can you state your names at the beginning of your speech?
Hello, I'm Anna Remenick, and I'm running for Mayor of Langley Township. I've lived and worked in Langley for 15 years, Walnut Grove, Brookswood, and now Murrayville. I've participated in delegations speaking to Mayor and Council, advocating for more responsible development, protecting and preserving our heritage areas, sensitive aquifers and farmland, and persistently advocated for the Brookswood Fernridge Tree Clear-Cutting Bylaw, which is the first tree protection bylaw ever adopted by this township. You may know me as Anna R. For years I've been saying first and foremost is the quality of life for those already living here. And as the horse capital of BC, we should support our equestrians and all things that make our township truly unique. I cherish our 2 officially designated heritage areas, Murrayville and Fort Langley. And that's it.
Hello, I'm Steve Ferguson. I'm a 37-year resident of the community. I love the Township of Langley, and I have the privilege of working with many of you for many, many years. My wife is at the front door handing out brochures for me, so I'll tell you a little bit more about my background. I've had the privilege of seeing a lot of changes in Fort Langley. Changes with infrastructure, changes within the community, changes for the better. I believe Fort Langley should remain a heritage designated site. It should remain the jewel of our country in Canada. Steve Ferguson.
Hi, I'm Bev Dornan, and I'm a proud resident of Fort Langley and a lifelong resident of the Township of Langley, where I've raised my family, continue to work, and volunteer in many organizations. I'm running to be a part of a group of strong, dedicated, community-minded individuals who want to be a part of the planning and of this community that will lead us into the future. Planning for important issues that are important to me are planning for housing for all our citizens, including affordable housing, advocating for transportation issues, supporting our protective services, and championing on sustainability and protection of our agriculture. Our quality of life here in Langley is second to none. There are different issues that affect each of our 6 communities, and I want to be open and accessible to hearing about all of them. Listening to you.
Hi, I'm Kim Richter, a 34-year resident of the Township of Langley, mother of 3, volunteer, wife, professor of business management at KPU, and also a 6th-term counselor. I believe in this community's tremendous potential and the future that is before it. I want this community to grow responsibly for our children and our grandchildren. For me, people in community always come first. And I have always, and I always will, stand up and speak out for you and for our community. To me, it's about quality of life, not quantity of development. I have 6 priorities. My son Sterling from Langley Fine Arts drew this for me. And please visit kimrichter.com. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Jonathan Howling, and I think I pronounced correctly. Thanks. I'm running for many reasons, but I'm running for one reason is for family. I want to bring that perspective to the council and add advocacy for families. I am a husband. I was married right here in Fort Langley 7.5 years ago. I have a 5-year-old boy and a 5-day-old daughter. And, yeah, so she's beautiful. Thank you. And so I'm running for them, and I'm bringing that perspective. I wish to bring that perspective to council because it's a good perspective to have, and it's one that we need. And families are our future, and I want to bring that. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Sunny Handel, and I'm running for councillor for Township of Langley. I'm a realtor by profession. My wife and I, we both work full time. We have a 3-year-old son. The reason I'm running is to do my part in ensuring we preserve our heritage, we support our farming community, art community, and we create new jobs, stable, good jobs. And we need to work on our infrastructure so that we can solve our parking problem in the downtown area. And I believe any community like our community, to remain a healthy, livable community, we need to work together so that everybody benefits, not just certain group or.
Don't go over your time. My name is Eric Woodwards, and I'm running for a very basic reason. I think that we're growing so quickly and we have so many persistent problems related to development that we need a voice on council that has some development experience to fix issues that go on and on and on and on. 208 Street being Exhibit A, and trying to get private investment into Aldergrove. Many of you know, of course, about my experience here in regards to revitalizing Fort Langley and being a big part of that. And I want to take that experience to Aldergrove. I want to make sure we build proper mixed-use housing, which we're not doing in Lily. I want to make sure we do that in Brookswood and maintain the character of Brookswood before it's too late. And please listen, and please check out my website, ericwoodward.com. Thank you.
Good evening, I'm Jack Froese. I'm running for my 3rd term as mayor of the Township of Langley. My wife Debbie and I moved here nearly 40 years ago with our 2 small children. We had another one here. We have 9 grandchildren. I'm proud that they all live in the Township of Langley. And I really think of them and their future and their for when I make my decisions. I believe that we need to have respect on council. I believe we need to work together. I'm using a theme of a big bus. We all need to get on the bus, get on board and work together. And sure, we're going to stop here and there, and some will have to get off and some will get on and make a few detours, but we need to work together and listen to everyone, listen to the members of the council, respect each other's opinion, and make good decisions for our future. Thank you.
Hello everybody, my name is Michael Pratt, and it's great to see you all. And I was born and raised here in the township, and I plan on calling the township home for the foreseeable future. And that in a nutshell is why I'm running. Because I hope that as our township grows, it grows responsibly. Now we're thinking not just the next 4 years down the road, but the next 40. Because as you can tell, some people up here will say they're running for their grandkids or their kids. Well, I'm of the age I could be their grandkid or their kid. So 4 years down the road, I'll be living in the home that my kids will be living in. So I want to be there to listen to folks like yourselves who have the ideas and how they want to see our community grow. I want to work with you. I have the ideas and the vision of my own, but I want to work with the community. I think we need a council made up of people who are willing to work with each other and who are willing to listen to people and actually get to work on the solutions on the issues that matter. So, thank you very much.
Hello, I'm Bob Long. I've served 6 consecutive terms on council, so in 45 seconds I'm going to tell you what's been accomplished during my time. The completion of Walnut Grove, the first CPO in Aldergrove, new fire halls, Aldergrove Athletic Park, the widening of 200th Street, moving and building a new civic facility, the artificial turf at MAP, and its stadium grandstand, the Arboretum and the Arbor Ribbon that surrounds Willoughby, the Langley Events Centre and the Alder Grove Recreation Centre, 4-laning of 208 overpass, Levante Road and 216th, and the completion of all of our OCPs. And of special mention, approving the development of Bedford Landing and its benefits to the real revitalization of Fort Langley.
Hi everybody, my name is Margaret Kunst. I was born and raised here in Langley as well. I've lived in 4 of Langley's communities, Milner, Poppy, South Langley, and Brookswood. I'm trying to find a way to maybe retire in Fort Langley so I can count another one. My husband is here tonight. We've been married 30 years. We have 4 kids. We're in business together for 20 years, Far West Sawdust and Shavings, delivering to a lot of farmers and locally here in Langley and the Fraser Valley. I'm running. My kids are struggling. They're millennials, all hardworking, would love to buy a home in the community they call home. But as we all know, the cost of housing and affordability is one priority for me as well.
Good evening, I'm Craig Teichert. I'm running for a seat on council. I'm a firefighter with the City of Richmond, Vice President of Richmond Firefighter Association Charitable Society. And I started my career as a firefighter actually in the Township of Langley as a paid on-call member. I am a Brookswood resident. I've been in Langley for a total of 25 years, and I'm running on the platform of community safety and smart development to deal with a lot of the growing pains that this community has right now.
Hi, my name is Carrie Ross, and this is my second time running for the Township of Langley Council. I'm a resident of Willoughby, and my family has been in Langley for 30 years for business and moved here about 11 years ago when we had our children because we wanted to raise them here. I actually used to take the Albion Ferry over to see my husband when we were in high school to get to the parties. And so for me, coming through here and seeing how it's changing and then moving to Willoughby and seeing how it's changing, it's been a real learning curve for us. My family's been involved in volunteering for many years. My dad with UNICEF in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. When I was younger, I joined Scouts and was a Scout Venture and Rover. And when I had children, I thought, how much more do we want to be involved? And Township Council was the next answer. I have a background with planning, project management.
Hello, my name is Gal Chava Costello, and thank you all for being here. Fort Langley really does have the reputation of the informed citizenry of all of the township, and you proved it again this evening. My background is in education and social work, and in all those venues I've always worked with what would be considered at-risk populations. I've also had the opportunity to be elected to a number of leadership positions within both of those professions, and I'm running to hopefully use the skills that I've acquired to be able to work with, in a democratic and collegial fashion, with everyone who's elected to council to deal with the problems that we understand are current and most pressing in Langley. There are infrastructure issues, there are housing issues of any number of varieties. At the same time, we're worried about schools and we're worried about increased need for hospitals. Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Harold Patel, and I've lived in Langley all of my life. I've run local business for the past 25 years. Langley's kind of in my heart and soul. I was fortunate to grow up in a really good time in Langley, and Langley's been very good to me over the years. And over the years, I've volunteered on many different societies, one of them being the Fort Langley Community Association, the Fort Langley Legacy Foundation. And basically, I've attended council for the last 5 years as a spectator. So I'll tell you my dedication to that. And basically, I sat through council meetings, and I've also attended budget meetings. And what I've done is I've basically sort of become a fan of politics, I suppose. And if I'm elected as Township Langley Councillor, I look forward to serving all of you guys and doing my job. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Councillor Patrina Arneson, and I was first elected in 2014. I'm an independent candidate for Langley Township Council. And I would just like to put forward myself as a candidate for your consideration as somebody who is always looking to balance the public interest and represent the public good. During my last term, I've been a tireless advocate for affordable housing, the environment, sustainable development, and the completion of vital social and physical infrastructure, sports and recreation enhancement, as well as supporting public safety. Moving forward, I am committed to my open door approach to consultation with the community, and I promise to continue to advance progressive policies to enhance our quality of life, not only for our current residents, but future residents.
Hello, my name is Michelle Sparrow, and I'm excited to be running for my third term on Langley Township Council. I was born and raised here, and I feel lucky to be raising my 4 daughters in the same community which I grew up in. I'm a local small business owner, and every day I'm excited to be meeting and working with our residents. During my time on council, I have stood strong for what I believe in, even when it was difficult, and I am proud of what I've accomplished so far on behalf of Langley residents. If given the opportunity to serve another term, I will continue to be a strong voice to bring innovation and a fresh perspective. Please check out my website, votesparrow.ca, to find out more about me and the issues I'm passionate about. Thanks.
Hello everyone, my name is Alex Joel and I'm running for mayor. We need to look at new opportunities. I've been living in Murrayville now with my wife and son for 3 years, and Langley's fine. Langley's good, which is why Jack may get reelected. But if you want better, you need to have new ideas and you need to have change. And by electing the same people, you're just going to have the same results. So what we need to do is we need to look at building communities, and that includes investing in infrastructure, but also building many more homes so we can drive down affordability, so we can make everyone able to live in Langley. I want to share it with everyone. Anyone who wants to come. And we need to look at... Thank you.
Hello, my name is Gary He. I live in East Surrey. I do a lot of work in Langley. I'm the proponent for no bridge tolls in BC. As you know, what happened, we saved $1,500 a year for transportation and business services across the Portland Bridge. I presented my 1,500 petition to the incumbent government. They didn't listen to me, and I presented that petition to the new government. They listened to them. The other thing I did, I participated and I worked with Bill Vandertam to fight HST. Instead of 12% in a cup of coffee, it's now still deals. I was a member of the Royal Canadian Legion Auxiliary member, and I'm very strong for safety, fire protection.
Hello, my name is Blair Whitmarsh. I'm a 27-year resident of Langley and the Dean and Professor at Trinity Western. I'm running for my second term. And one of the big things for me in running for council was that we would have a council that would be a council of good governance, a council that would listen to the residents, that would meet with them when they need to be met with, and those that want to be open to meeting with people on all kinds of different topics and issues. And I think we provided that, and I think that's something that I provide is good governance, listening through and hearing the issues. Important to me are families, and what do we do with families and people of all ages in our community and keeping it a wonderful place to live. Public safety, local jobs, stimulating our local economy are all part of us having a great community for us to live in. And so on October 20th, I ask you to
Good evening. My name is Angie Twelly, and it's my pleasure to be here tonight. I presume you're here because, like me, you appreciate the tremendous quality of life we enjoy here in the township of Langley. Langley's a thriving, vibrant community, and I love living here. So many opportunities are at the doorstep of the township of Langley right now, and I'm looking very much forward to participating in another term on council so I can be part of the discussions that will continue to shape the future of Langley. It's important that during those discussions we think about the preservation and the integrity of our historic landscape as well as the agricultural landscape here in Langley. So on October 20th, I'll look forward to hopefully winning another seat on council for another term, and my website is angiequality.com.
Hi, thank you for coming. My name is Stacey Wakeland, and I'm running for a seat on council.
And I have 2 children. My husband and I live in Willoughby, and we have lived here for almost 14 years. I have co-owned a small business in the community and have been a passionate community advocate and volunteer. I am running because, yes, we do have a wonderful quality of life here, but I'm concerned about the people that don't. So I'm concerned about those that are struggling to live in our community. I believe we need to make sure that we're speaking for all people and we're representing all people. We need to solve.
All right, we're now moving to the question and answer period. So just to go through that again, because we have a number of people who might have missed how we're going to proceed. I have just drawn a name, which I haven't looked at yet. This will be the first person to answer the first question first. So the first person answering the question will have 45 seconds. We will then move along the table, and 3 additional candidates will answer the same question for 30 seconds, and then we'll then we'll move to a new question. And everyone will have an opportunity to answer one question, and then we'll draw and start at another, have a new starting point. So, Katrina Arneson, you will be the first person to answer. All right. Yeah. So you'll have 45 seconds, and then we'll move along the timeline. Okay. So here's the question. As you may know, a truck route runs through Fort Langley, from River Road, down Mavis, down Glover, and down the 8th Avenues. Residents and business owners have proposed relocation of the truck route or construction of a bypass around Fort Langley to remove this type of vehicle traffic from our community, given the significant pedestrian traffic and lack of traffic crossings. What measures would you take, if elected, to reduce trucking traffic in our community?
Wow, you chose the one that's right on the top of my list, the truck route going through Fort Langley. I have to honestly say that I have long been an advocate for removing the truck route in downtown Fort Langley. I see that it is, and know it's a vestige of having the former ferry, but really, if we fast forward to our current situation, we have a vibrant, livable, walkable community in which people now are being negatively impacted by this traffic. I think what we need to do is to consider our whole truck traffic route, which we have done recently, and find a way to reroute this traffic outside of the downtown core. It only seems rational to me that you wouldn't want, if you were designing a community now, you would never put a truck route in the middle of Fort Langley.
So if you can pass it. The same question. Okay. And you'll have 30 seconds.
Okay, then I'll be very quick. Yes, this is something that we on council have looked at, and the removal of the truck route from Fort Langley is something I am certainly supportive of, and I agree it is at this point there is no need for it going through the heart of Fort Langley, and I agree with removing it.
So I am in favor of the large investment in infrastructure. So what we need to do is we need to look at, in the grand scheme of things, where a bypass would fit into the plan. And if indeed it was the best option, which it sounds like it is, sorry, I haven't looked into the issue yet, but all we have to do is find out where it is as a priority in our building our road network.
Gary Heaton. My suggestion for cutting down on truck traffic is putting up signs that limit the gross vehicle weight of these trucks so that they're not like trailer trucks or semi-trailer trucks, only small delivery trucks. And that way you still get the goods and services delivered to the merchants and to the consumers. The other thing that I think I notice is buses are leaving large curves in the blacktop, so dump trucks are also doing that. So it's costing you more money to repair the roads because of the trucks.
All right, so the next question, and we'll continue down the table. So the next question, please discuss your views on the possible introduction of a tree cutting bylaw in the township of Langley. 45 seconds.
Awesome. So I live in Brunswick Fernridge, which is where a lot of the issue around trees focuses.
What's the name?
No comments from the audience.
It's a name.
Oh, sorry, Blair Whitmarsh. The idea of the tree bylaw, I think, is a balance between the rights of a property owner to own their property and do what they would like to do with their property, and those people who live in the community around that property. I do believe in property rights, but I also understand the value of trees and the role that those trees play in our community. So I think that a tree bylaw, which I think is likely to come, is going to be a tree bylaw that balances the rights of property owners with the needs of the community to keep those trees. And I think it's possible to do both.
No comments from the audience?
I'm Angie Qualley, and I supported the motion to have staff come back to council with recommendations around the tree bylaw and what it could look like. I think, like Blair said, there's a balance to be struck between private property owners and what the community would like to see. I'd like to see what that means to our community in terms of replanting all of the trees that have to come down for different kinds of development. So I do support a well thought out, well planned tree bylaw that has had an opportunity for community input.
Hi, it's Stacey Wakeland. I do agree with everyone, definitely supporting a tree bylaw. I do believe that it's certainly possible to walk that fine line and not take over the rights of property owners, and also consult with other municipalities. We are one of the few without one, and I do think it's important.
Thank you very much. Now we can breathe. Give it a thought. I definitely would support a bylaw. Brookswood has the biggest stand of conifers. We need one around the sensitive areas around the ALR boundary, so we can avoid problems like we did up the Terra Ridge. And I would, the details are in the devil. The details are in the details. Thank you.
We're moving on to the next question. I'm going to remind candidates to please say your name at the beginning of your response. What are your views on cannabis production on ALR land? And if such growing occurs, what steps will you take to minimize any negative impact on the surrounding community?
Great. I'd like to pass this question off to somebody who knows more. I don't use cannabis, so that just makes me not an expert, right? I'd like to show you a map of the ALR land that's in Langley. Everybody's worried about it, but it is a great, all of that green area is a large percentage of Langley Township. We need to preserve the ALR land, and so we need to do that. Now about cannabis, it is in the agriculture, and so I imagine, I would like to look at this further, I imagine that it could be regulated and put on ALR land.
What was your name?
Oh, I'm sorry. My name is Phyllis Hefner.
My name is Michelle Connerty. I don't believe that cannabis should be grown on the ALR land. I think it should be reserved for food production. I think it's very important to preserve our food, and I don't believe greenhouses should be used to grow cannabis on the ALR land at all. Thank you.
I'm Anna Remick, and as far as the cannabis issue is concerned, I know that the ALC is weighing in on this and where they would like to see that happen. There are issues locally with ventilation and the fumes that are coming from it because it has become an industrial operation. It really doesn't reflect an agricultural operation. So those types of operations should be put into an industrial area and kept away from where we would normally grow our crops. However, there may be some sort of balance that can be put in there because this is
Steve Ferguson, and if you haven't been down to 264 from 011 to 60, go down there. That includes every other candidate here. I've been down there several times. A friend of mine is doing a farm practices review of what they're doing. They've taken food crops out and planting cannabis. They're planting more and more. The last thing that Langley Township needs, with all the agricultural land we have, is to have cannabis crops replacing food crops. We need to protect our agriculture, we need to protect our ALR, and we need to make sure that cannabis doesn't take over in our community.
All right, moving to the next question. This is a question from a local business owner. who states this: I currently pay almost 4 times as much property taxes as residential, so 13.5% versus 3.71. According to the 2018 Canadian Federation of Independent Business Annual Report of Municipal Operational Spending, Langley Township was by far the largest spender in the Lower Mainland. By comparison, Maple Ridge had more population growth but came in second for fiscal responsibility. What will you do to reduce operational costs or to increase the township budget and be fiscally responsible like small businesses such as mine must do?
Being fiscally responsible is, I think, the prime duty of council, and reviewing all of our spending is by far the most important issue. And we have to be competitive with our neighboring municipalities as far as business taxes goes. We can't have ours being way higher than anybody else's. Otherwise they'll be moving somewhere. But Langley is one of the fastest growing municipalities in the region, and the money, I assume the money that needs to be spent on infrastructure and new issues new items for our residents is why the spending is.
Kim Richter, I think taxes in this community are too high. I've thought that for a long time. I think we're spending money on things we shouldn't be spending money on. We should be focusing on our core services, and we should definitely try to keep tax increases less than cost of living increases. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Jonathan Howling. I remember my grandfather once telling me in regards to budget that sometimes you have to pay for, all the time, you have to pay for essentials before luxuries. And I think that we are so far behind on our infrastructure that we have to bite the bullet for the short term and invest in that infrastructure. And that might mean that fancy pools and beautiful art centers that we need might have to wait. Thank you.
Sunny Handel, I believe when I say we need to support our small business and the farming community, this is exactly what I mean. We need to help them any which way we can. We need to reduce the taxes so that they can continue doing business in our community. And we need to encourage our young entrepreneurs to take the step and start giving back in the community. Thank you.
All right, on to the next question.
Always love getting the first question.
As you are likely aware, Fort Langley is located on the traditional territory of the Kwantlen First Nation. If you are elected, what 3 things will you do to further the goals of truth and reconciliation and to acknowledge the benefits that the citizens of Langley now enjoy as a direct result of the significant wrongs, cultural genocide, and many injustices shown towards Indigenous people?
Well, that's a great question. I don't know how you can answer that in 30 to 45 seconds, but I think I can certainly identify one, and that is to support and follow through with the great initiative that we have here in Fort Langley that's already underway in regards to our museum project, regardless of perhaps some height issues with that. But focus on the core objective there, which is truth and reconciliation as a big component of that, and I would support that critical component of that project. And of course, another example is potentially to find a couple more instances like Leland, which is a township-owned piece of real estate that is operated in partnership in conjunction with the Kwantlen First Nation. And it's those kinds of initiatives that I believe that the township of Langley can do more of. Thank you.
Hey, Jack Rose. We are on Kwantlen First Nation, Katzie, Semiano, and Mascou First Nation territory, so it's not just one. And then we need to continue to work, I think, with the projects that we have in Fort Langley. We have a great relationship with the Kwantlen First Nation. We've been working with them on bringing their input in and assistance. We're also working with them on their own property to help them with some sports fields design, that sort of thing. The Township of Langley has a history of working with their neighbors, and we have MOUs with Katzie First Nation and with the Kwantlen First Nation to assist them when they need us. I think
Thank you very much, Michael Pratt. And this is a very important question, and I think a very good place to start. We have a roadmap. We have the 99 calls to action that the Truth and Reconciliation Commission gave us, so that's a good place to start. I think what's important is that we start to work with our neighbors in the Kwantlen First Nation and to relearn cultural practices that were lost and how we can kind of grow together. And I think another very important thing is that we can cooperate economically. There are massive opportunities if we work together to kind of use township land or to cooperate our business people together. So I think that we
I have one of these other questions.
No? No, that's your question. You're number 4, so you're.
Oh, it's 4.
Yeah.
Oh, well, we already have a fantastic relationship with our Quantum folks over there, and I just love them. They love me. We hug all the time. But there's some good things that have been said here about moving forward. I think we should probably have, and it was requested, that we had a mayor's council or some kind of get-together all the time with orders of government, working together, meeting together, and sharing ideas is the way that to get solutions.
And now for a new question.
Oh.
Many candidates for mayor and council mention in their platforms improvements to infrastructure and transportation. This seems to mean building wider roads for cars, which has been proven only to encourage driving and ultimately leads to more congestion. There has been very little discussion about how to encourage Langley residents out of their cars and into alternative forms of transportation. The recently added bike lanes, including those on the 208th Street overpass, are not inviting to cyclists. Bus service is infrequent and connections are poor. Many of our roads have narrow or no sidewalks. Pedestrian crossings are widely separated and multi-lane streets are dangerous to cross. Because cycling infrastructure is poor, pedestrians and cyclists frequently mix on multi-use paths or sidewalks. How do you intend to reduce congestion by making transit, cycling, and walking more inviting in our township?
Hi there, Margaret Kintz. So when we talk about growth and development, we talk about infrastructure, and we talk about what's going to happen in Brookswood, new development, and we all want those streets to be ahead of time. That we want those streets to be done ahead of time, but we realize the challenges with development cost charges and roads. Anyway, I'm a transit user. I just want to. I don't have a lot of time left, but. Transit, getting on your bikes, livable, walkable communities. This is the way that we need to sort of go forward with making sure that our citizens can get around in the community, because we need to get out of our cars. So we need to have safe sidewalks. We do need.
I'm going to bring the microphone over here, and just so everyone knows, we have one extra person, so we have to do 5 answers to this question, just so you know.
Hi, Craig Pastry. I think the key to this is when we develop our community plans, we need to develop a better, working with Township Council, need to develop a better core to our communities, and in that core, make that area walkable and accessible to transit designations in and out of those cores. The problem I see with the township right now, it's so spread out that we develop communities in the same kind of spread out fashion, and we need to develop a better core to our communities, accessible to transit, make those areas walkable for all people, whether it's seniors, children, kids, and stuff like that, for schools, parks, everything.
Hi, Karen Ross. I'm actually a member of HUB, which helped get bikes on SkyTrain and on some of the roadways. I have been a bike rider that goes up to Carbold and actually gets to work sometimes during the bike, and I also have gone by transit. And what I think we have to focus on is that if we were to put our infrastructure inside and get small business going here, people would transfer out less. We wouldn't be on major arteries, and we could redirect the money locally to make more comfortable interface bike lanes, walking paths, and transit options within the community, rather than paying to get people out of here and leaving and taking their money with them every day.
Gail Chana Costello, and I agree with some of the previous points. Part of the problem right now is our development plans don't actually allow for and incorporate things such as really usable, viable bike lanes. They don't also include the number of buses we need to get people to move around the city, to make it viable, to make it practical to get from Aldergrove here into Fort Langley, which many people say is actually not doable. So as we go forward with the infrastructure, we need to look at incorporating transit, and that's just not for cars. It is for buses and it is for bikes.
Harold Patel. I think transit, obviously we all know that transit into Fort Langley is not that good. You can't get here, you can't get out most days. And there's a lot of other options though. There's car sharing, there's Uber. I think Ray mentioned bicycle lanes. And I think basically moving forward in the future, we just have to plan our road structure and our infrastructure better, way ahead of time, and not overbuild development. That's my simple answer, just don't overbuild. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to draw a new starting point since everyone's answered one question. Craig Tapered. All right. Earlier this year, the township staff put forward a proposal to develop the municipal lands adjacent to the federal historic site in Fort Langley into housing with a 4-story cultural center. The community plan calls for this area to be used to benefit the community by providing open space and recreational amenities, as well as location potential for museum with outside exhibit area. Would you support such sale and development of municipal lands Would you support such sale and development of municipal lands as in the best interest of Fort Langley residents? Why or why not?
I'm a big proponent of basically keeping things that we can't get back, and that whole historic site is one of those areas that once we get rid of, we can't get back. So I'd like to see it preserved in the best fashion possible, and maybe enhancing the land around it into community, more of a community feel and stuff around it as far as museums and stuff to enhance what's there. But as far as giving it away to developers to develop to something else, I don't think we should do that.
Carrie Ross. I have a problem with anything that deviates from the plan without giving anybody a fair shake at having input in the changes. We've seen it throughout the area. You're getting this, now you're getting that. We're going to deal with it. I think there has to be community interaction where we're committed to going with what the majority of the community wants with a forward-looking plan for the next generation. If it is not in the best interest of the community, it shouldn't go forward, and anything that's a deviation from an original plan or purpose should go to a community feedback seminar.
Thank you. The land does belong, the majority of it, to the Township of Langley already, and as I understand from seeing graphic designs that have already been developed, there is some involvement already with Kwantlen Nation. I think we need to look at this as a community to determine if it is the best use, and I'm not a fan of deviating from community plans unless the community is on board with determining that this is the best long-term use. Thank you.
Harold Waddell. I think we've heard earlier that everybody agrees that we want to do something in partnership with our friends from the fall, and I think this is a great start at the Cultural Center. We need a new museum. The museum's actually very busy. There's a lot of school programs, and I really support the museum. As far as the component, as mentioned, the township already owns this land, but to finance the project, they're going to need to raise money to give us the museum and the cultural center. So if it requires selling some of the land, there.
All right, moving to a new question. What measures would you propose to support Langley's homeless population? And would this include support for the supportive housing project proposed for the Quality Inn site?
Katrina Arneson. It's a great question, actually. I think for most people in the township and the city of Langley, we recognize that we are part of the larger homeless problem that we have, and we need to address this as a social issue. The Quality Inn project, I think, is a huge gift to the township of Langley. It is being offered to us by BC Housing Funding. It is wraparound services for the people in our community that need it most. I think we have to face the reality. We do have a problem with homelessness, especially vulnerable individuals, that they have health care needs likely and drug addiction problems. And I think that we owe it to the community. These are our residents, and I think we need to support them. So I am very supportive of that. I'm also
Thank you. Again, I think this is an important issue as well in our community. One of the things that we have just opened actually in our community is the new Youth Resource Homeless Centers, which has just been opened, which is a great initiative that I think helps address the youth homelessness in our community that is often unrecognized. As for the Equality Insight, I think there is still consultation and work that needs to be done on whether or not that actual location is the right location. I do believe.
Alex Joel. As for Quality Inn, one of the biggest issues is they don't want it in their backyard. And no one's going to want something like that just across the street from them. So we need to look at relocating it. But we need to put it in a place where it's actually going to satisfy everyone's demands. What we need to do is start looking at some township land that we have. And we need to look at private partnerships. And that way we can really get to the bottom of this.
You have the same question.
Yes, Gary Heath. My outlook is creating an agency holding the endowment, holding land as an endowment, government-owned and leased out to organizations such as cooperative organizations who specialize in low-cost housing, so that the land is never actually given over to private development. It's always owned by the government, and the funding can be raised by membership investment.
All right, now we're moving to a new question. Many candidates have said the solution to Aldergrove is to attract private investors into the area. Do you support this? And if so, what specific actions would you propose to attract these investors?
Yeah, I do support trying to find ways to gain further investment into Aldergrove and Blairwood Harnish. I believe that government can play a role in how we zone land or rezoning land to be used for housing and for other kinds of projects that will help Aldergrove and for commercial space. I think the ability to, in some housing projects, to provide the ability to provide some extra density in some areas so that the community can be more walkable and people are able to engage with the local businesses, I think is helpful. The first step, of course, was having the new Aldergrove Credit Union Community Center, which was really helpful. And I think, yes, we can do things to increase investment in Aldergrove.
Thank you. I'm Angie Qualley, and I am super excited about the future of Aldergrove. There are so many opportunities available for that community. The township in the last number of years has invested $100 million in infrastructure, sewer, water, recreation centers. Aldergrove right now is in a place where it's ready to welcome private investment. New businesses are going to start to open. We need to be ready to accommodate and work with the community to make sure we're getting the right mix of services and leisure that they want there in the community. So I'm excited about the future.
Hi, Stacey Wakeland. I recently met with the Aldergrove Business Association, and I would say, in addition to what's already been mentioned, is making the community itself, and especially that core, more attractive. So dealing with some of the vandalism, the crime, beautifying, putting some effort into beautification would attract businesses as well.
Thank you very much. As mentioned, Aldergrove has had $100 million spent for the new pool. We can, as a township, we can help with zoning, housing, and as far as the ALR land, to make Aldergrove square, it does not have to be square, and you have ALR land to thrive. Yes.
I have a new question. Yeah. Is there a plan, or what is your plan to slow down the unbridled growth and density of housing at the expense of parks and recreational spaces for children to play?
My name is Phyllis Hepner. The question is, in my mind, a little bit inaccurate. I believe that if we have high density in certain areas, then we can preserve the green spaces and have parks. So density is not a bad thing. Higher density has to be strategically placed. It should be placed around town centers so people can walk to the coffee shop, leave their car at home. Takes care of a lot of traffic problems by having the high density close to the shopping and services that are in each town center. So that, and also within the high density can be really nice parks. I have a friend who grew up in an apartment and he loved it, of having all the kids in his neighborhood. It's not a bad thing.
Hi, my name is Michelle Connery. I agree. I think we need to build town centers and decrease the sprawl. So walkable neighborhoods that are connected and by bike paths and walkability. I'd like to see a lot of green space preserved, trees. I think that contributes to livability for any community. And I think children shouldn't have to travel to playgrounds or sports. We shouldn't have to drive to get to where you're going to play. Thank you.
Anna Remick. I think that if we actually look at the growth strategy, there's plenty of things in there for preserving our environment in green spaces that we're not actually applying. It's all in there, but there's no will to actually put that in the plans. There has to be a more reasonable balance in there. We're getting all that density, but there's never any of the green spaces put in that we're supposed to have as an offset to that. So we need people that are going to focus on that and actually put that into play.
Steve Ferguson, and I'm excited about what Langley has in the inventory of parks, regional parks, playing fields, all sorts of pools, recreational area. Langley is a jewel as far as that goes. 5+ regional. Density will come to the township of Langley. Sustainable, good quality, managed growth is very, very important. If we're going to grow as a community, and we are growing, it's important to work with all the partners to make them livable, workable, and sustainable communities.
All right, we're now moving to another question. What concrete things would you do to ensure agricultural land is protected in our community?
Bev Dornan. I'm a true advocate for the agricultural areas. I grew up on a large farm, and my mother still lives on our farm. I think we have the Agricultural Land Commission that has specified our agricultural areas, and for sure we do not want to be exchanging that for any other types of uses. We also want to work with young farmers and trying to do the where they get to lease land from other people that aren't using their farmland, but they can't afford the farmland, but then they can develop their skills as farmers. So I think we need to support all of the agro programs that.
Hi, Kim Richter. We did a study this year, Quantland actually did it for us, to tell us how we could make better use of actual land production capacity. I think we have to move forward with that, and I certainly don't want to see our food land used for growing cannabis. I think that's such a mistake. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Jonathan Howling. I think what's even more important than ALR protection, I argue, is ALR utilization. The country of the Netherlands is the same size as Vancouver Island. It produces the #2 world exporter of food products. You don't need much space, so the technology is there. How would I protect ALR land? I would utilize it. Don't just look at it, utilize it. Look at programs with young people, the young agrarians. We have great opportunities, folks, with our ALR land. Thank you.
Sunny Handel. In my mind, there's no trade-off between ALR and the growing population. We don't have much land to develop. We need to be creative in our development, and we need to create jobs. We need to build an art center, attract other communities so that we can generate revenue for our city. We need to provide a facility to the big movie studios down south, so we can have a sustainable good jobs where we can actually support our families instead of.
Okay, we're moving to a new question. What areas of services to our community do you believe can be implemented over your term as councillor if elected?
Area of services, can you clarify?
What areas of services to our community do you believe can be improved over your term as councillor if elected?
Areas of services, I'm sorry, I don't understand that.
Municipal services, I'm not sure.
I don't know, sorry, I don't know what you mean. What you mean for what area of services, I'm sorry, I don't know what that means.
What areas would you consider most important that you could improve if you were elected?
Well, that's easy. I mean, that's obviously older growth. I mean, if I could restart my 30 seconds, if that's okay to pursue that angle of the question. I think clearly revitalization of Alder Grove is a key priority, and I'm Eric Woodward, and that's a key priority for me. And you fix Alder Grove or help Alder Grove by fixing the economic subdevelopments, starting with parking requirements. And that's one of the main reasons we've seen revitalization here in Fort Langley, not just Bedford Langley. And that's how we need to start in Alder Grove. And introduce a new community amenity contributions specific to improving the streetscapes in Alder Grove based on the development that we're seeing in the rest of Langley.
Jack Rose, areas of services, so there's a zillion services that the township provides, so I'm going to pick one. And I hear from a lot of people who come to our hall and they're looking to get a permit, no matter what it is, a building permit or development permit, or there's a lot of permits we have to put out. And I want to look for a way that we can streamline that process so that it saves you time, it streamlines the process for us and also for you. So I'm going to be looking for a way to improve that service that we provide to our residents, that how we can fast track some of the smaller things if you want to get a deck permit or something like that.
Michael Pratt. In my opinion, the biggest service the municipality provides is making sure that your every day-to-day life is as smooth as possible. So for me, my background is planning, so the number one priority for me is infrastructure and making sure that the infrastructure that we're building in the township is keeping up to the growth that we're having. And the second thing for me is our healthcare system. We all know that ideally, Langley Memorial, it gets that investment it needs, but in the meantime, I think we should be working to get more primary care centers in our neighborhoods so that people can rely on the neighborhood clinics, not having to go to the hospital. And I think that we need to do that.
Bob Long, I'd like to talk about Alder Grove, but let's talk about arts and culture. Let's talk about expanding those services. I think that we can do a much better job of that in all the communities. We have 6 distinct communities, right? And I think in each of those communities we can do more with working with our youth and our seniors and the arts and culture folks.
So we're doing quite well on time, so I'm going to start with a new question and we'll just keep moving until we run out of time.
So I get the new question
You
again?
get a new question. What ideas do you have to make housing more affordable for families?
Okay. My name is Margaret Kunst. I sit on 2 local committees, the Immigrant and Refugee Advisory Committee and the Township of Langley's Housing Coordination Committee. So affordable housing is a hot topic in both of those. One would be to establish a reserve fund. So the Township of Langley actually has some policies. So I would just support those policies. Create incentives to encourage developers to want to do this in our community. You look at the Shepherd of the Valley, and there's a new proposal that was brought out last council meeting for seniors housing, possibly in the Brookswood area. So I would totally support any proposals like that and encourage developers to want to help us.
Just going to bring the microphone back around to this side.
Craig Fishery. One thing I'd like to, if I was on council, is work closely with BC government, BC housing and stuff, to bring more initiatives in, possibly some co-op type housing and stuff. And the same thing when we develop our communities as well, is to designate areas for rental housing as well. That's a big problem with young families and stuff starting off, not necessarily buy a house that's affordable, but even just a place to rent as well. So I think we need to incorporate all levels of that, and as well as working with the communities when we develop these through designating seniors housing stuff.
Karen Ross. Living in Willoughby, we're one of the neighborhoods that got the regulated basement suites the soonest. And one of the things that we've seen is it's put a tax burden on the homeowners in incentivizing people who are lower income to move in. So what I'd like to see is people that are looking to convert their basement suites, maybe get a break on some of the permits, and also get a break on some of the licensing so that we can pass it on. And it comes at the idea that you submit and are supporting a family that is in need. We have a lot of people in our neighborhood who are refugees or families that are in
Gail Chana Costello, and I currently sit on the AAA Senior Housing Group and work with them
And as a result of that, I've been able to attend some sessions with BC Housing Corporation and the joint private and public partnerships that help individual townships get grants to be able to move forward, like the Shepherd of the Valley project, so that you're working for housing for families and for seniors, for those with disabilities, and including rental housing as a component perhaps, or percentage component of all new developments, so it's not just all market housing. Oh God, I still have time. And
thank you. Now we have a new question. Do you think that we have an opioid problem in our community, and if so, what can be done?
Harold Waddell. Yes, I do think we do have an opioid problem in our community. We have other, obviously, drug issues as well. I believe that we can only do so much as a municipality. I think that's a provincial and a federal thing. I think it contributes to our homeless situation. And again, my own personal views is that getting people into treatment is the only way to curb the opioid crisis. That's number one. Thank you.
Patrina Arneson. I actually sit on a committee of stakeholders, including the Fraser Health Organization and others that are on the front lines dealing with this crisis. And I have learned so much about it. I have to say that we are trying to respond in the best way that we can, but it is a huge problem, and so I think what we really need to do is to explore what the actual cause of this is, to be more responsive. And the more you look at this problem, the more you help to understand in detail what causes it and what.
Hi, Michelle Sparrow. I realize I keep forgetting to say my name. Michelle Sparrow. I think it would be short-sighted of us to think that we don't have a problem in our community. I think that that this is something that all the regions are dealing with. And I agree. I think it is something that we need to have a conversation about and look at ways that we can help support those who are on the front lines and working to address the issue. It's certainly not something that can be solved in 30 seconds, but it's something that we need to acknowledge and work towards.
Alex Joel. I have run previously in provincial and federal elections. I'm a libertarian, and I think that prohibition has to end. By keeping these people who are suffering from addiction in the dark, they can never really get the help that they need. So we need to bring them out of the dark alleys so that they can get all the resources at their disposal and not be in fear of being prosecuted.
All right, so no, that was 4. So we have to move to the closing portion. But we will start with you, and you have 1 minute to make a closing statement, remarks.
Gary Heedy. I was Block Watch captain for 6 years. I believe that we need to have a strong Block Watch. The communities are safer. And I believe that fire extinguishers should be mandatory in all condominium and multi-suite units. And I believe that the police department should be more supportive by offering 50% subsidy to the cost of burglar alarm systems. And I believe that new construction should be upgraded to include fire extinguishers so that seniors have a chance to put out small fires. And there are many other things such as first aid kits. I believe that a strong community starts with a square block, and most people should be willing to participate in Block Watch that has a fun environment and a healthy environment so that their neighborhood is safe. Also,
Hi, my name is Blair Whitmarsh, and thank you for coming tonight. I'm a believer in good governance and listening to the people of our community. It's important for me that we manage our economy, our local economy, and we create jobs. That's one of the best things we can do for families. Decrease the commute time, increase the time that parents can spend with their children or their older senior family members. Spend the time, increase the time they can spend with families. That's important to me. Create a safe community. so that we can feel safe walking in our community, biking in our community. I am a proponent for creating better roads with better cycling paths that are safe, and particularly for those with young children. Some of the bike paths we have might be safe for older adults and for adults riding, but they're not safe for young families with young children. We need to find ways to do better with bicycle paths. I think that fiscal responsibility is important, and it's one of the most important things we can do is managing the budget that we have.
I'm Angie Qualley, and like I said earlier, maintaining the quality of life we enjoy here in the township is really important to me. I'm excited to have the opportunity to continue to work on the issues that are important to you, the issues I've heard from our community that matter: affordable housing, addressing the needs of our vulnerable senior and youth populations, working to build fine arts, cultural and performance spaces, and maintaining and improving our existing infrastructure in a cost-effective way. I want to work with our fire department and RCMP to enhance public safety and crime reduction. Part of what makes our life so enjoyable here in the township is that we feel safe in our homes. I'll continue to be a strong voice for ride sharing, better transportation, more reliable access to transit, and EV charging stations throughout the municipality. All this while I work really hard to make sure we make the best use of your tax dollars.
Hi everyone, thank you for coming and thank you for your time. My name is Stacey Wakelin, and it's really hard to sum up everything in 1 minute. But definitely at the top of my list is to see more action, more collaboration. We have some big problems to solve. Increasing infrastructure so people are safe getting around the communities. I am passionate about finding a solution to our homelessness problem. We need to see action. We can't keep talking. We need to collaborate with the amazing stakeholders and other levels of government. And affordability. As I said in the opening, quality of life is great for some of us. We have to acknowledge that there are people in our communities that are struggling, and we need to ensure that they are thought about as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, David Davis. I will continue to bring awareness for to preserve farmland and not take away the opportunity. I will, if I'm elected, I will support working together with the council for the better of Langley, not just for the better of Langley. Public safety. I will respect OCPs and neighborhood plans and not upzone, and I think that would be a good. And I'd encourage everyone to get out and vote, get informed like today, and who you vote for will be your voice for the next 4 years. David Davis, thank you.
Thank you all for coming again. It's a wonderful crowd. My name is Phyllis Heppner. I've lived in the Langley area for 34 years, raised 4 children here. I am a musician, and a musician thinks a little bit differently. And so I want to bring the ideas of creative thinking into what goes on in planning in the township. Also, I think that we can make a beautiful thing out of our landscape. We have a beautiful picture that we're painting here with all these different distinct communities, and I want to work to make it all creative. I'm also very collegiative. That's really the wrong word. It's awful to think of that word. I love to work with people. I do not like to work alone. I like to work in conjunction with other people and dig deep and look deep at issues and be creative and find solutions and do great things for Langley. Thank you.
Michelle Connerty. I just want to say that I thought it was really intimidating getting up in front of council and speaking. You guys have trumped that. This whole public speaking thing is a big stretch for me. I work, live, and play in South Langley and South Surrey. I love this community. This is my home for me and my family, my 2 kids, 2 dogs, and a cat. I want to thank you all for being here. I love that you're engaged, that you're not in front of your television sets, and you're out here and you care. That's a huge, huge win for me. My goal is to listen to this community and to work towards an accountable and transparent government that is connected to you, the taxpayers, in a fiscally responsible manner. I believe a change is needed in leadership to achieve this goal. I want to be part of that change.
Let's build a better Langley together. Thank you.
Thank you all for coming here tonight, Hannah Reminick. It's so nice to see so many engaged voters. And as you research your candidates, you may wish to reflect on their past actions and or voting records. So for years, I've been saying the first priority is the quality of life for those already living here. And I've been talking about preserving our land and our food security and about not varying OCPs and our environment. And I'm sure our mayor and council think I'm a bit of a broken record. So I basically support all of our business owners, our equestrians and our artisans and farmers. I value our heritage. Murrayville's a beautiful area. I see the benefit of the homeowners who take pride in being the stewards of our history. And I think that we need a more balanced approach with meaningful consultation and creative, environmentally balanced solutions that accurately reflects the feedback from our community input sessions. Thanks for your consideration. Please share with your family and friends and encourage them to vote.
We have 2 dogs and a hairless cat. I'm Steve Ferguson, and I want to say that you see my silly signs all around the community saying creating opportunities, and I'm serious about that. Creating opportunities for affordable housing, creating opportunities for seniors and families, attracting business, industry, clean manufacturing, so we can find good jobs close to home for the residents that live here. I also strong advocate of public safety, the police, and our fire protection and suppression people. I think it's important that people get out and vote, so therefore I've taken an awful lot of my card to show you where your advance poll is from October 10th to the 18th and voting day on the 20th. Take a look at my card, you know where to vote, it tells you the information you need. Vote Steve Ferguson, but go out and vote and tell your friends and neighbors that we want this to be the highest majority ever in the Township of Langley. Thank you.
I'm Bev Jordan. You've heard from all of us tonight, but most important, we have heard from you. We have a great quality of life here in Langley, and I'd like to be a part of that team that builds on that base, plans for our future, and lays the base for our children and our grandchildren. Planning for the future is not all we need to do, but we need to address our issues of today, such as the affordable housing, homelessness, building on services for our seniors, but also just doing the job of what the municipality is supposed to be doing. Doing your roads, doing your sewer, doing your water. Working with us and supporting our farmers and the sustainability of our agriculture is also imperative. That's 75% of our community. But also managing the public purse and being critical with the spending and saving for our future. I believe in my business experience, government experience, and my past councilors, I can make the critical decisions. I also pledge to be open and accessible and listen to you. I want you to be part of the decision-making process. And I also believe I can bring consensus to the council table. So please get out.
Thanks. I just want to echo what Michelle Connery said, and those were the toughest questions I think anybody's thrown at us, so thank you. If I am lucky enough to be reelected, I have 6 priorities. Again, you can go look at my website to see what they are, but in a quick format, it's about increased ethics and accountability and transparency on council, public safety, including reduced property crime, affordability in terms of taxes and also housing, homelessness solutions, preservation of our heritage, our natural resources, and our ag land, as well as community. Again, it's all about quality of life, not quantity of development. It has been an honor and a privilege to represent you, and I respectfully ask for your vote again.
Good evening. My name is Jonathan Howling, and I want to thank you all for coming out. I want to thank the association for putting tonight on. That's a lot of work, and this is an excellent evening. Thank you so much for it. Thank you as well, everybody, for attending. Your dedication is admirable. It's exemplary. I'm from Willoughby, and I hope that Willoughby has half of this ambition and half of this dedication. I could win that way. I also want to thank 26 candidates here. Well, 25 other than me as well. But I look around at these candidates and I see that, everybody has a heart for Langley. Everybody's got a passion, and they've got commitment for it. And so I wish you all the best as voters in trying to discern character and integrity through through this, I do wish you all the best as you try to do that. Be careful with your vote, but make sure you do vote. Finally, if you are looking for a voice for young families and for agriculture in the township of Langley, I hope that you consider a vote for Howling, Jonathan Howling, and thank you so much.
Hi, Sadi Handel. I would like to thank each and every one of you for taking time and coming out and giving us an opportunity to speak. And again, if I'm fortunate enough that you guys give me an opportunity, I will work to get adequate staffing at our fire halls or police stations, because safety for any community is the most important. As a father, as a business owner, I believe that we need to support our small businesses. Let's reduce taxes. Let's help them grow. Let's create jobs. As I mentioned earlier about the art center and the movie studio, we need to think out of the box. And I have these ideas and I'm excited to work on them. But I'm not just here to work on the ideas. I want to hear from you. I want to work with you to make our community stronger, better, livable, and healthy community. Thank you so much.
So hi, my name is Eric Woodward. I also want to thank Martina and the rest of the volunteers, David and Andy, for putting this on, and anyone else that was involved with it. There's a lot of talk of working together for Langley, and I agree, but to do what and how? And that's why I base my campaign on real ideas, identifying real problems and issues to solve, and specifically propose ideas how to solve them. So please, if you have a chance, look at the 3 major policy speeches I did last week and the platform that we're unveiling, and more to come. It's really important to me that this be about real solutions to solve real problems. The 3 big problems that I want to work on, from investment in Alder Grove, preserving the character of Brookswood, and solving the major roads crisis in Willoughby, which will repeat itself in Brookswood. And I want to say, especially here tonight, that the situation in Fort Langley, there's a lot of blame that can go around, and I will accept my share of it. And we all need to move on, and I need to move on, and Fort Langley needs to move on, and I want to move on to help the rest of Langley solve these problems with real development experience on council. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jack Froese. I also want to echo everyone else who's thanked the organization and the Fort Langley Community Association volunteers for putting this on. 26 candidates in front of you, all with great ideas, all have a passion for Langley, and that's a common thread amongst all of us. Langley Township Langley is the birthplace of British Columbia. It has thousands of years of history. 145 years as a municipality. I'm proud of that. It took many, many mayors, many council people to get to where we are today. We are a changing community. We've been changing from the moment it began here, and we need people on council who can work with that change, do it responsibly, fiscally responsible. That's the kind of government I want. I want a government that has respect, listens to each other, and great debates on council. And we have a good choice of people in front of you today. Thank you for coming out. Make sure you vote, and have a good evening.
Michael Pratt, I just want to thank you all for being here today. And I have a history of giving back to this community. This community is in my roots. That started when I was 13 years old, and I helped bring about the creation of the memorial down to Derek Doubleday Arboretum. That continues to this day, serving on UBC Senate. And so this community is in my blood, and I want to make sure that the quality of life that we have here stays as high as it possibly can be. So if you want a counselor who walks the walk when they say that they're actually going to listen to you, if you want somebody who's been door knocking since Easter so they can hear from as many people as possible on how we can move this community forward, if you want a fresh face and a new perspective on council so that we can come up with the real solutions to the real issues that we face, if you want somebody who's concerned about how all generations are impacted by the decisions we make on council, and I hope that on October 20th you can support Michael Pratt so that we can keep our community moving forward. Thank you very much.
Good evening. I'm longtime Councillor Bob Long, and the township is the most desirable place in the Lower Mainland to live. People love it because of our blend of urban and rural lands. I live in Alder Grove, where the town is finally seeing some revitalization due to market conditions, but also because council has invested millions in the sewer, the water, and recreation facilities. But now with the OCPs that are complete with Brookswood and Willoughby, it's time to get on with it. I think we need to finish the neighborhoods in complete and walkable and sustainable fashions in a timely manner. And the new residents that want to live here, they want to come here, and many of them are our own very young families. As much as it is argued, it is infrastructure that comes with development. And waiting or slowing is not the answer. By following through with developing community plans, I think the township has a much better chance of addressing many of the concerns that we've talked about tonight. When neighborhoods are complete, when the street lights are on, you see a reduction of crime and homelessness. 6 communities are very unique. They have unique lifestyles, and they're very different housing choices, and density in our OCPs belong in the high area.
Hi, Margaret Kids. Thanks for the opportunity to speak and to get to know some of the issues that are facing Fort Langley. I'm under no illusions about this job, and I know it won't be easy. But nothing that involves people, problem solving, and building community ever is. But it's exactly what I want to do why I'm running to be the councillor. What you can expect from me is a common sense approach to the issues, honesty and respect to you as a taxpayer. My priorities are sustainable community development, affordable housing, safe and healthy neighborhoods, ensuring our infrastructure keeps up with the growth, supporting Langley business and our agriculture sector for a vibrant local economy that provides jobs for people in our community. People enjoy an amazing quality of life in Langley, and I want it to be a place where everyone can thrive for now and in the future.
So I just want to thank, I'm Craig Peishreep. I want to thank everyone that took the time to come out. This is fantastic to see this many people here, the organizers that put this on. If I'm lucky enough to get voted on to council, I want to work hard to ensure that this community remains safe. That's everything from the way our fire service is utilized to putting a better community policing model, and I think we need better community policing in our neighborhoods. I'd also like to make sure our neighborhoods are inclusive of everyone. That's everything from our children and youth to our seniors and stuff, the way our communities get developed. And I also want to be the voice to protect some of the aspects of this community that we can't get back. I mean, that's everything from our parks, our ALR land, and a lot of our heritage sites as well. So if lucky enough to be voted on October 20th, I'll be that voice for those needs. So on October 20th, vote Peishreep for Township.
Thank you everyone for coming, and thank you for having us here. Carrie Ross for Township Council. I want to say that with my background, I'm in resource management, planning, and I took chemical soil analysis for horticulture and agriculture. And one of the things that I do is I manage businesses from one point to another. And one of the reasons that I love Langley is Langley has so much potential. It's great. But we have a saying in business where if you're not moving forward, you're falling behind because someone else will move forward and they will beat you at it. So if we want to bring business here and we want to do it, I want to challenge the idea that the infrastructure comes with business and development. It doesn't have to be made that choice. We decided that we don't get infrastructure and things until development comes, and we put the two together and we force that. We can choose to change it, and we can say that infrastructure in the community comes first, and that will bring business here. It will keep us in our community spending money, and it will keep us investing in one another. Thank you.
It's Gail Chana-Costello, and I'll just echo the thanks that have been given to all of you and to all of the organizers. It is a great evening tonight. If you look at my website, Gail for Township, or Gail for TOL, you'll see that my 4 or 5 points are still there, and they are housing, and housing in tandem with infrastructure. We're all concerned about the fact that houses are built and the infrastructure follows much, and sometimes years later. When we look at housing, we need to ensure that they are creating livable communities in this development, and that when people move in, they don't have to wait an excessively long amount of time for the supports to follow along. Housing also includes housing for the homeless, housing for those who are on low income, housing for those who are on fixed incomes, and it also includes housing in terms of taking care of heritage. Housing is a broad brush, and we need to ensure that we look at that as well as continue looking at the issues around crime, fiscal responsibility, protecting ALR and the environment, and thank you very much. My time is up.
Harold Patel, and again, thank you to all these people out here and the organizers for putting this together. want to ensure Langley continues to be a great place to live and offer great opportunity for generations to come. For Langley to continue to be a great place to call home, we need to support and protect our lands for food security and the ability for young people to be able to have an opportunity to farm and carry on the farming tradition. We need to preserve our natural environment and work together to be sure future generations are able to enjoy a walk in the woods or a stroll along a creek bed like we have been for so many years. We need to encourage controlled growth and not allow growth to control us, and be sure that we're planning well and listening to our residents. We need to support our heritage and history, honor those that have gone before us. We need to be completely committed to increasing the collaboration within our council in order to properly represent the interests of our residents and businesses. And I want to have Langley continue to be the great place it has been for me for 56 years. Thank you very much.
Patrina Arneson, thank you once again, everybody, for coming out to getting informed tonight. I have run as a full-time counselor for the last 4 years, and have dedicated myself to listening to the community. And I am actually running on my record. And so I would encourage you who want to know more. There are many things I could say about the things that I have tried to spearhead and the initiatives that I would like to continue. But I think it's fast and easiest if you just go look at my website, www.patrinaarneson, like one long run-on-word.com. I'm a person of great integrity. I have actually got a very strong education and background in this area, a degree in law, and I think I can bring a lot to the table in continuing to work on your behalf in the township. So thank you very much for coming, and please remember to vote.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Michelle Sparrow, and I'm excited to be here with you tonight. Thank you everyone for being so engaged and paying attention. We're almost at the end, so I will be brief. It has been exciting and so rewarding over the last 7 years to see many of my ideas become reality and to work to see those be implemented. Some of them that just mentioned a few have been my work on the community engagement, so a new online budget simulator, my continued work on the implementation of a policy that has council set yearly strategic vision and goals. So I saw that implemented this year, as well as the creation of a new community amenity contribution policy, which is to help address the funding needs our community experiences from growth. If I am given an opportunity to serve another term, I will continue to be a strong voice, and preserve our agricultural lands.
Alex Joel for mayor. So I didn't get to touch on one of my major campaign policy pieces, and that is that we need to investigate if the RCMP is really the best police service for us, or if we need to make a switch to a local municipal force, which would add all sorts of levels of accountability. But also, if you look at statistics, local municipal forces have had better service rates. Also, since we're here in Fort Langley, I want to bring it back. I want to really emphasize that it's great that the roots and the heritage of our municipality are again a focus. And we have a real great opportunity to put Fort Langley on the map with a great mix of business, commercial, and residential housing. We don't need to be afraid of losing our character, because it's people that make a community, not asbestos-filled walls and creaky floors. What we need to realize is that, all these great programs that have been approved by council, the museums, they're nice, but we have other priorities.
So that brings us to the end of the All Candidates meeting. Thank you to the candidates for coming and for participating tonight. That was a very informative discussion that covered a lot of ground. And thank you to everyone for coming. We're going to just under half an hour to mingle and have one-on-one discussions with the candidates. We would ask you when you leave, please leave through the exits on this floor. Do not go downstairs. There's a bin by the back door going upstairs for your food bank donation. And if you can help by stacking your chairs, that would be greatly appreciated. And we're going to bring the chairs to the front. Thank you so much.